Money isn't everything, it's the only thing. That's the mantra of one of the greatest heels in wrestling history, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. But in the documentary The Price of Fame, premiering for one night only in theaters across the country tomorrow night, you can learn about the story of a man who truly had his time against the ropes and was able to fight back against the odds. Ted DiBiase joins us now to talk about this documentary. How are you, sir?
Very good, Sean. How are you?
Doing very well. Obviously, you know, anyone that grew up with the WWE, or at least then the WWF, before the World Wildlife Fund put Vince McMahon in a chokehold, we grew up watching you, $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. How did you become this character? How did that all get started?
Well, the idea for the character was Vince McMahon's personal idea. What I was told was if Vince were going to be a character in his own show, this is who he would be. So it's kind of like I became Vince's alter ego.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, sure, you certainly did a very good job of that as well. You premiered in 1987. You're a huge hit, and obviously with all that fame comes obviously the things that come with fame, oftentimes trouble. How crazy were those times, 87 to especially 93? That was a crazy time for you, I'm sure.
It was a crazy time. I mean, we wrestlers became kind of like rock stars, living the same lifestyle. I mean, it was, you know, the next town, the next show, you know, the next party. You know, people look at fame and they say, golly, it's got to be exciting to walk into a building and 20 or 30,000 people are screaming your name and they know who you are. And that is exciting. But what they don't see is that after that show, you go back to a hotel and you know, four walls and a television, and then you do that the next night and the next night and the next night, and you do it 300 nights a year. Yeah. And you know, that can become a very lonely place. So you saunter down to the bar to have a beer, and that beer turns into two, and down the slippery slope you go. And for me, that all culminated in, you know, calling home one day and my wife confronting me with adultery. Mm-hmm. And in a fraction of a second, I realized that I had put at risk the most valuable things in my life for an ego trip, to fill a void. And it was ugly. You know, the love and devotion of a committed wife, not to mention the other thing at risk was the stability in the future and the peace of mind of my children. Yeah. And, you know, I couldn't have been more selfish. And it was also a turning point for me because I made up my mind that day that I was going to go back to the values that I had been raised on, you know, by a great dad who was a tremendous inspiration to me, and the values of my faith. And so, you know, today, you know, people ask me, they go, well, Ted, are you really a multimillionaire? And I go, no, I'm not. But I'll tell you what I do have. I have the love and respect of my wife. My marriage has been totally restored, and I would tell you without any doubt that my wife is absolutely my very best friend. Not to mention I have the love and respect of my children and the unbelievable pleasure and joy of watching my grandchildren grow up.
And obviously, you know, I grew up thinking how awesome Ted DiBiase is, but I think we know who's the most awesome. Your wife is amazing, Melanie, my goodness. She put up with a lot, and she was very forgiving, man. I'll tell you, this is really a story of a real great bond between the two of you.
It really is, you know. But if you heard my wife, if you spoke to my wife, what she would tell you is this: she would say, you know, it was just as hard for me as it was for Ted. She said, I had to struggle too. I mean, her struggle. I mean, my struggle was mine was like, you know, like I was so eager for the redemption, so eager to prove myself. Yeah. And the process really took probably about 2 years, where, you know. It just didn't happen overnight, and you know. But as my wife began to see the change in my priorities, you know, my priorities shifted. You know, because up until that time it was pretty much job, Ted. Yeah. And now, you know, I had put God as the post in my life. This is first, and then my relationship with my family. And as my wife saw the priorities in my life change, those things began to come back, and again, you know, it was worth the effort, believe me. And that, again, there's hope.
This is the real life story from heel to face, Ted DiBiase. It's great getting to talk to you, my friend, and we're looking forward to seeing this movie. Theaters across the country, they're going to be showing this new documentary, The Price of Fame, for one night only. It's tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Locally, you can see the movie at Santa Fe Station and Village Square 18. So if you want to know where that's at, boom, there it is. FathomEvents.com, place to go.